"48252 is visiting from Heaton, Mersey's Stockport. Black 54488 is not quite as clean as when last seen on a rail tour at Eccles and Earlstown, although its smoke box has received a coat of paint. Speak had a large allocation of 9 F210Os at the end. This one backs towards Allerton, which is on the Liverpool to Crewe main line. At Garston Junction, 45417 arrives with an extra coach for the rail tour seen earlier with 46520, whose derailment of its rear coach at Warrington earlier in the tour had cramped its participants into 3. The eye that came off its train for the BCK to be added to the front. The tour now continued on the Cheshire Line's committee line to Liverpool Central. It passes Cressington, opened in 1873. However, the Beeching Plan recommended closure of the route, and after extremely vociferous action, it closed in 1972. The route was reopened in January 1978 as part of the electrified Mersey Rail network. The approach to Liverpool is through the 70-foot deep Olive Mount cutting. When opened in 1830, it had just 2 tracks, enlarged to 4 in 1871. Jubilee Leander runs onto the Bootle line in 1980 during turning for an anniversary special. Liverpool Lime Street opened in 1836, replacing Crown Street as the terminus of the Liverpool and Manchester. Crown Street then became a goods depot. Electric 25 kV AC trains arrived from Crewe in 1962. In April 1968, 45305 heads a special out of Lime Street and climbs the 1 in 93 up to Edge Hill. The shed at Edge Hill was built in 1864 by the LNWR. It serviced both passenger and freight locomotives. 45284 had been an 8A engine since October 1961. To the left of the turntable is the loco arrival line from Engine Shed Junction, a downgrade of 1 in 27, which, if the wheels picked up, could give untidy results at the bottom. runs past a mechanical coaling plant installed in 1915. It was served by a line above, dropping coal into a silo for discharge into the locomotive tenders below. 92218 rounds the curve above the shed on the main goods lines to Speak via Allerton. A Black 5 comes off the Bootle line at Pighew Lane Junction towards Olive Mount and the Manchester Main Line. The line to the left runs towards Edge Hill. Viewed from Edge Hill Shed, the Manchester lines are visible. 48692 is diverging under the gridiron marshalling yard to reach the Bootle line through Piccow Tunnel via Edge Lane Junction. Fairburn Tank 42233 enters Prince's Dock on the 22nd of October 1966 with a Liverpool University Public Transport Society's train. The line gave access to Riverside Station for transatlantic liners. That station closed in 1971. Liverpool Exchange was the Lancashire and Yorkshire's terminus, serving Southport, Ormskirk, Preston and Manchester Victoria. Carlisle Kingmore's 45135 departs on a dinner time service to Glasgow in 1966. Exchange was rebuilt in 1888 on the site of the former Tithe Barn Street station and doubled in size from 5 to 10 platforms. This position was reversed in 1977, being rebuilt as Moorfields with just 4 platforms on the new underground link to Liverpool Central. Nowadays, as our train negotiates the station's route northwards, one can reflect that there are just 2 tracks here to Sandhills. Sandhills is the first station out of Exchange. 45290 passes towards Exchange. Banghall Shed is in the distance. The L&Y electrified its Liverpool and Southport line in 1904 through Bootle. At Oriel Road, Aintree's 48363 passes on a freight. Up to April 1966, the line saw steam working to and from Southport of through coaches to Euston, joining the main train at Lime Street via Edge Hill. Here, 46440 does the honours. Finally, we arrive at Southport Chapel Street. Southport has been a seaside resort since the late 18th century and popular with holiday makers. The children would enjoy the Lakeside Miniature Railway, a 15-inch gauge line, first opened in 1911. However, a serious fire in 1931 closed the line until 1948. King George was an Atlantic, built originally by Bassett Loke. In 1948, a 460 was built with A4 outline called Duke of Edinburgh, powered by a 40 horsepower diesel engine. Chapel Street terminus had 11 platform faces plus 2 excursion platforms on the north side. Black 5, 45110, is departing on a special in 1968. Taking the long curve eastwards, the train will soon pass St Luke's Station, beyond which the Wigan and Preston lines diverged at Hawkshead Street Junction. The special just seen departing had been brought in by Britannia Pacific Oliver Cromwell. The line from Liverpool was electrified in 1904 and from Southport to Crossens just after. This was on the West Lancashire Railway, which opened from Hesketh Bank to Hesketh Park in 1878. Situated in the Southport suburbs, it had a healthy commuter traffic up to closure in 1964. A steam-hauled service to Preston departs, while an electric from Crossens comes in for Southport. A goods yard, mainly coal, was situated by the signal box, and this stayed open until November 1967. 44949 of Rose Grove Shed arrives on the 5:32 p.m. Southport to Blackburn train in the summer of 1964. Another EMU arrives at the next station, Churchtown, whose elevated wooden platforms had little in the way of shelter, the main station buildings at a lower level. In the distance is Bankfield Lane Bridge at Crossens. Here the electric services terminated. The units were built for the LMS just before the war and operated at 630-volt DC third rail. To run round, the units went to New Lane Crossing in the distance, where a signal box also controlled a level crossing. From here to Preston, the line was steamwork. Southport's 42645 heads for Preston. The route now becomes rural at Banks. Rose Grove's Crab 42898 arrives with a train from Blackburn before departing over the level crossing. A Black 5 arrives from Southport and takes us to Hesketh Bank. Here was the centre of the West Lancs market garden industry. Another of Southport's Stanier tanks, 42662 arrives in the up platform. Passengers joining here could have had a cheap day return to Southport for 2 shillings and 2 pence in 1964, just 11 pence today. The site of the station is now a housing estate. Another Rosegrove Crab 42722 on a Blackburn to Southport service. A 1 1/4 mile branch once ran from Hester Bank to Tarleton to connect with the canal branch of the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, and this brought some goods traffic to the line. It closed in 1913. Poole was the only station missed by the 2:16 p.m. from Preston on Saturdays. By 1882 the West Lancs line reached Preston from Hesketh Bank and the route was complete from Southport. At Longton Bridge 42645 again non-stop on the 3:04 p.m. from Preston, and a couple of minutes later the Saturday's only 2:53 p.m. from Southport heads for New Longton and Hutton. After New Longton and Hutton was Penwortham Cop Lane on the outskirts of Preston. The 4:23 p.m. from Preston calls at the Gaslit Halt. The line was closed in September 1964. We return to the Liverpool to Preston line via Ormskirk. We are on a morning Liverpool to Glasgow train north of Sandhills heading for Kirkdale. This route was electrified as far as Ormskirk. Walton Junction was on the Preston line, the junction for Wigan just south of the station. 75032 passes on the 9:48 a.m. from Preston on the 30th of October 1965, and 70,032 passes Orrell Park with non-corridor stock on the 9:50 a.m. from Preston to Liverpool. After Aintree came Old Rowan, a halt opened by the LMS in 1936. A Black 5 crosses the Leeds to Liverpool Canal near Maghull. Maghull Station was opened by the East Lancs Railway in 1849. 45196 heads north on the 9 o'clock Liverpool to Glasgow in 1967. Some good line speeds were often obtained here. A Black 5 rolls along well with a returning excursion from Blackpool. Town Green and Alton Station opened as Town Green in 1849. In 1975, British Railways reverted to the original name again. Electrification reached here in 1911. The electric cars were built in Derby between 1940 and 1942 and lasted until the late 1970s. The route saw steam to the end in August 1968 and attracted enthusiasts for the morning Glasgow train and its return from Preston at 21:25. The 27.5 miles were booked for 38 minutes, which called for spirited running considering the difficult route out of Preston via Farrington Curve Junction and later weaving a path from Walton Junction into Liverpool Exchange. These trains are climbing at 1 in 131. This is 45376 on a train bound for Liverpool. Alton Park was the summit of the route. 44858 comes over the top with the 1310 Liverpool to Blackpool North on the 3rd of June 1967. Lostock Hall has borrowed Rose Grove's 45382 for the morning Glasgow train in January 1968. Ormskirk was the end for the electric services from Liverpool. Arriving on a Blackpool North service is Aintree's 44809. Today the line north to Preston is single and worked by diesel multiple units. Four 4836 heads the 0900 Liverpool to Glasgow at Doctors Bridge, Ormskirk. At Burscough Junction, the line north to Preston crossed over the Southport to Wigan main line. The connection from Burscough Bridge on the Southport to Wigan line is traversed in 1968 by 45110 to reach Burscough Junction on the Preston to Liverpool line. This was the same train as seen earlier at Southport Chapel Street with 70,013 Oliver Cromwell. She takes the north curve to reach the West Coast main line at Farrington Curve Junction, Preston. Gathurst is on the Burscough to Wigan X-L&Y line. Oliver Cromwell runs a special through the station in 1968. Returning to the Liverpool-Preston line, we are on train passing Rufford. On construction in the 1840s, there were problems with the marshy ground here. The line was completed through to Preston in 1849. Next station was Croston. 44816 of Aintree passes on the 3rd of June 1967, while that shed still had the working for the 0900 Liverpool train. The 21st of October saw Wigan's 44962 in charge, dropping down to Preston at Farrington Curve Junction. Passing Farrington Curve Junction is 45105 of Carlisle Kingmore. On arrival at Preston Station, this Liverpool portion will be joined to the Manchester one for the onward journey to Glasgow. On the closure of Aintree shed, Lostock Hall took over the Exchange working. Their 45444 returns us south at Skew Bridge. In the summer of 1967, the 1400 Glasgow Central to Liverpool Exchange was usually worked by a Kingmore Britannia on a Saturday. Climbing up from Farrington to Moss Lane Junction is 70,014 Iron Duke. This engine recorded the fastest speed for a standard of 101 miles per hour on the 11th of February 1959 between Luton and Bedford when allocated to Trafford Park. She departs Ormskirk, note the bolts on the deflectors, for once carrying the arrows when working the Golden Arrow service in the 1950s. The third L&Y line across West Lancashire was that from Wigan to Liverpool via Rainford. On the 22nd of October 1966, 42233 departs Rainford Junction on a special. From Wigan Wargate, the line began a climb southwestward at Pemberton of 1 in 92. Heading down grade for Wigan is Spring Branch Sheds 45024. The next station towards Liverpool was Orrell. A 264 tank departs in March 1966. The summit of the line was Hub Holland. Nowadays the line is single south of Rainford to Kirby, where a similar situation to Ormskirk has taken place. Electric services arrive from Liverpool and the passengers then walk to a connecting DMU service to journey north towards Wigan. South of Kirby, the line was crossed by the Cheshire Line's committee route from Southport to Halewood via Gattaca. The line to the left gave the CLC access to Liverpool docks. 45110 passes for Zackerley South Junction and crosses the East Lancs Road. Preston Road was the last station before Warton Junction, where the Wigan line joined the Preston line for the run into Liverpool Exchange. 42575 is working the 1140 to Wigan Wargate stopper. Returning to the Wigan area, we see a 9F crossing the Leeds and Liverpool Canal while traversing the Welly Loop, which was a line avoiding Wigan North Western on the West Coast Main Line. A Black 5 climbs Pemberton Bank on a Wigan to Liverpool Exchange stopper, returning us to Merseyside. It was the Liverpool and Manchester Railway which started a system of railways which we know today, and with steam power. In 1968 the steam locomotive bowed out on British Railways. 45110 heads past Wiston on the 11th of August 1968 with the 15 guinea special that went to Carlisle via Manchester. In the evening she returned to Liverpool. Here 45110 passes the Parkside Monument to William Huskisson, who was killed by rocket on the opening day of the railway. Many thousands of people witnessed steam on that day, and on the 11th of August 1968. The scenes in this video were probably not quite so well seen. We hope you have enjoyed them, bringing the old days back.